Barry G. Fowler, EA, brings you Tax Talk for You right here on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. As an enrolled agent and a national leader in tax resolution, as well as trucker, bookkeeping, and tax planning with over 30 years of experience, Barry will break down taxes, bookkeeping, tax planning, and tax relief for individuals and businesses just like you. So let's have some Tax Talk for You with your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, good morning. Closing out a year and bringing in a new year brings new tax deadlines, things you need to be aware of as we enter the year. But, amazing enough, I've heard a lot of talk recently about the national debt. And the Congress passed another continuing resolution instead of passing a doggone budget like they're supposed to and required by law. So let's just continue to make this mess bigger and bigger. But I went to usdebtclock.org, kind of an amazing webpage if you ever get over there and take a look at it. But just sitting here waiting for our show to start, I've watched the national debt go up by more than $4 million, which is just crazy. They can go up that fast. We're over $36 trillion in debt. If we want to break that down per U.S. citizen, it's $107,000 we're each in debt. Per taxpayer, $271,000. Those are crazy numbers. You think about it. Your kid gets out of college or gets out of high school and starts in the workforce and they become a taxpayer. They're immediately $271,000 in debt based on what our national debt is for our country. Sometime we're going to have to rein this in. It's just amazing. Just in this little bit of the conversation, this has gone up $2 million more. So, it's insane numbers when we think about it. Sometimes you go, why do we even pay taxes? Let's just run everything on debt. You and I couldn't run our households this way. One of the cool things, and I like about this, is it's got this little time machine function. And you can go back to 1980, and we were exactly $1 trillion in debt. It's only $14,000 per taxpayer. So where did we go wrong? 10 years later in 1990, we were only $3.5 trillion in debt, but it jumped up to $47,000 per taxpayer. And then, you jump into 2000 and we're at 5.5 trillion and at 51,000. So you could see how this debt increased, but it wasn't increasing like it is, today. We jumped to 2004 and went to 8.1 trillion to 78,000 per taxpayer. And then, let's jump to 2008 and it went to 12.5 trillion. And we're now at $114,000 in debt. Jump to 2012 and we're at 17.3 trillion. And $166,000 in debt. Jump to 2020, and we had, let's go 2016 first, and we were at 17 trillion. And then 2020, it jumped to 29 trillion. A lot of this is COVID and the benefits we paid people to not work or work from home or keep people employed cause this national debt to go way up. Things government shouldn't have been involved in, but they did. And then, we jump then to, where we're at today, and it's $36 trillion. So you can see in the last 4 years, it jumped another $7 trillion out there. And it's, pretty interesting. You could see, hey, what are the largest budget items that are out there for our government? And it's Medicare, Medicaid at 1.8 trillion, Social Security at 1.5 trillion. If they hadn't raided our trust fund and done other investments, or maybe got it to where it's your own account, we wouldn't be sitting here looking at the government having to fund 1.5 trillion. Defense spending is just under, $1 trillion. Interest on debt is over 1 trillion in itself. It's crazy. These are numbers that just become absolutely insane. They have a lot of other great stats out here. You could go in here and look at your state. Let's take a state out here, Texas. And we look at Texas, population, 31 million people. And it's showing the debt being about $414 billion. Now, I think this is including local debt and everything else as well, not just the whole state government. What other state you want to look at? You go in here and look at, California, who has 38 million people in it, and their debt is $619 billion. So, the state debt's, all relative. It's one of those things that are out there. Not sure how they're calculating that state debt, but you can go in here and look at it and play. It shows like the U.S. population, number of people in the workforce, number of people that are officially unemployed, and what healthcare costs, are now versus, back in 2000. And what's your college tuition? What is it today versus what is it now? They have a nice thing on here too. It showed student loan debt on here. And, people are wanting forgiveness for student loans. When you sign for the loan, you should pay the loan. Hey, it's just life. That's the way life is. You'll get out of school, go get a job, get work. Total student loan debt is almost 1.8 trillion, $39,000 per student. Hey, some of the students, it's a lot more that are out there. Credit card debt for this nation is 1.3 trillion. It's about 8,440 per holder. So, there's numbers out here. It's pretty cool to look at. Even have things on here, trade deficits, debt held by foreign countries of U.S. debt. What's our trade deficit with, China, U.S. imported oil. At one point, we were an exporter of oil. Now we're an importer of oil. So, it's kind of cool things that you get out there and you can look at. They had U.S. home prices here and sales dating back from 2009 and all coming all the way forward to 2024. Amazingly enough, home prices per this has come down for new homes from a high of 513,000 to down to about 404,000. So there's been some decreases in the values that are out there. They have home sales. They got mortgage loan calculators and everything out there showing what kind of loans that you could get out there, fixed, variable. So it's a nice place to go there. Go check out usdebtclock.org and have some fun with this, or hey, maybe put some realization into life and government and how much debt our government spends on yours and my behalf, and how much they're actually collecting from taxpayers and corporations. Hey, interesting thing is we talk about taxing corporations. Now, you do realize when they tax a corporation that you and I are still paying for it. Unfortunately, that is across the board, whether they're taxing a large major corporation, they're taxing a mom and pop business, those taxes are taxes you and I pay when we go to those shops, whether you're shopping, let's say on Amazon or anything online. They collect tax, they earn income and pay the tax to the federal government. So the more they get taxed, the more the tax comes out of yours and my pocket. That's kind of the sad thing in taxes, and people don't understand the way it works. If you're a major corporation, you're traded on the stock exchange, you've got to make money and you've got to have earnings, and you're going to be paying in taxes or have credits for research and development or purchasing new assets, whatever it is that helps bring their taxes down. You and I pay the tax in the goods that we buy. And those goods got to be marked up enough to where they can earn enough income to satisfy shareholders or pay dividends out, to show earnings, to increase value of the stock. And in order to do that, they've got to put that into their pricing. And when they put that into their pricing, you and I pay for it. So keep those things in mind when you're out there asking, hey, government should be charging more in taxes. So those are little things to keep in mind as you're going. Hey, what we're going to start covering is important tax deadlines for 2025, and those coming up starting right away here in January. January becomes a busy month of tax deadlines, and we're going to catch you up on all the deadlines that are coming up right after this.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for You. If you owe the IRS or are going through an IRS audit, don't go at it alone. Call Taxation Solutions Tax Relief at 888-930-1016. We are your solution for IRS debts, audits, back taxes, garnishments, liens, and levies. Whether you're an individual or business, you need a solution and a strong, aggressive tax resolution. Don't let the IRS walk all over you. Stop the IRS now. Call 888-930-1016 or go to taxationsolutions.net now for a free, no obligation consultation. Let's get back to Tax Talk for You with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome back. Hey, before we get started talking about tax deadlines, if you happen to owe the IRS money, we've come up with a great IRS playbook. And if you go to irsplaybook.info, irsplaybook.info, you can learn how to settle your tax debt in 3 simple steps. So go to irsplaybook.info and check that out and see how you can solve your tax debt in 3 simple steps. Hey, we're talking about due dates. So, every year we move into January and there's a lot of deadlines that come up in January, but a lot of people ask us, hey, when do I have to file my 2024 tax return? Well, those deadlines are typically April 15th, unless it falls on a weekend or a holiday, or if you file the 4868 seeking an extension to October 15th. So if you're filing your 1040, get it filed by April 15th, or you can file an extension using the form 4868. One thing to remember, an extension is an extension of time to file, but not an extension of time to pay your taxes. So what due dates do we have coming up here? January 15th is your last quarterly estimated tax payment for 2024. So if you're self-employed or have other income without any tax withholding, and you're required to make estimated tax payments, January 15th is the due date for your final quarterly estimated tax payment for 2024. Now, when you go in and you make this payment, if you go in through EFTPS site or pay it on irs.gov, make sure you check the box to say fourth quarter 2024 or paying towards 2024. January 29th. This is approximate, the kind of a release date the government has already set out that we can actually begin filing 2024 tax returns, and the IRS will start accepting and processing those returns. Sometimes it comes up a little bit earlier, but January 29th is their goal to start accepting tax returns for 2024. So if you're an early filer, great, get them in here on this date, and the IRS will start processing refunds. If you owe, you can file early as well and set it to, have your money withdrawn from your account on April 15th, because it's still the deadline to pay, even if you file early. January 31st is kind of a huge day, especially in the accounting, bookkeeping, payroll business. January 31st is the due date for employers to send W-2 forms. You can send them earlier, but you've got to have them out to your employees by January 31st, 2025. This gives everybody the ability and the time to get your returns filed on time. The IRS is requiring all employers to send you that W-2 by then. Doesn't mean you're going to actually get it. They just have to have it in the mail by January 31st. So if they're mailing it out to you, it may take, depending on the post office, a few more days to get to you. It doesn't mean you got to have them in your hands. They just got to have them sent out that day. And a lot of people are gone to electronic versions, so you may have access to your payroll account. So as soon as the W-2s are posted and ready, you should be able to download them. And if that's the only thing that you need to file your taxes, you can then immediately go and file your taxes. So remember, most preparers and good preparers are not going to file your tax return unless they have the W-2s in hand. So even though you could start filing by January 29th, if you don't have that W-2 in hand until the 31st or later, you won't be able to file until that point in time. They're not going to do it off your last paycheck stub. Also, January 31st, 1099 forms are due. So your NEC, which is the non-employee compensation, 1099 miscellaneouses, and 1099Ks are all required to be sent to you January 31st. These are all to report payments that typically don't come from an employer, such as if you work as an independent contractor, gig worker, self-employed person, or receive income such as interest, dividends, prize winnings, rents, royalties, brokerage account transactions. If, of course, January 31st falls on a weekend or holiday, then they're going to be due to be sent the next business day. So if it falls on a Saturday, you may not, your deadline to file these wouldn't be until the 2nd of February. But those have also got to be out by then. Not necessarily filed with the government, but got to be sent to the individuals that you're having to send these forms to that you've been paying. February 18th, 2025, reclaim your exemption from withholding. If you choose to claim an exemption from your employer's withholding taxes from your paycheck by filing a W-4, you'll need to refile this form by this date. You would file this exemption request if you anticipate having no tax liability in 2025 and had none in 2024. So you can file that exemption from any withholding from your paycheck. Again, only if you anticipate having no tax liability and had none the previous year. Hey, the amazing thing about the tax system is the government set the system up. What they'll say is to be easy. And what it really is to make it painless. Meaning the government's going to pull money out of your check, or your employer is, and send it to the government on your behalf so you don't have to do it. See, the amazing thing is people, you and I, every taxpayer out there, everybody that has employment, get used to it. You don't pay attention what they just pulled out of your check and is sending to the government between, Social Security, Medicare, and your withholding taxes. And if you live in a state that has state taxes, they pulled out the state tax as well. See, kind of painless. You kind of get used to it. And you live on what the net amount's going to be. But when you're self-employed, or if they didn't have the system and you had to pay the tax in yourself, it becomes very painful to go in and make that estimated tax payment every quarter or pay those taxes in every month. Can you imagine? And I'm just going to use a number here. You make $2,000 in your paycheck, and they withhold $500 between maybe state, local, Social Security, Medicare, and you've got to make that $500 payment after you get paid every check. Would that change the way you vote? Would it change the way you think? It should. But it should also set yourself up as a reminder. Look at how much money you're paying in taxes from your employment check. If you're self-employed, those are estimated tax payments that you're paying for Social Security, Medicare, withholding taxes, your federal income taxes, your state income taxes. So you're having to pay those things in your estimated tax payments. And you're doing that whether it's quarterly, or some people can't save money, so they do it monthly. First day my daughter went to work and she got her first paycheck and she was like, "Dad, what the heck is this?" "Oh, those are your taxes." Taxes? This isn't fair. It's part of life. They're going to withhold Social Security from you, Medicare from you. It's automatically going to be that 7.5% roughly of your gross wages. If you make enough money, they're going to start holding federal income taxes as well. Talk about a pain. Talk about reality hitting you right between the eyes of how much this government takes from you and I. And go back to that debt cloud. How much are we in debt? Because how much our government overspends or gives to various programs that maybe this government shouldn't be doing. Hey, but that's a whole story for another day. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to continue talking about tax deadlines that are coming up in 2025. We'll be right back after this.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by, as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for You. As an owner-operator, you already spend too much time away from your family. Trucker Tax Tools handles all your bookkeeping and taxes no matter what level trucker you are. Life on the road can be taxing, but that doesn't mean that your wallet or time with your family should suffer. Trucker Tax Tools makes your life run smoothly. Go to truckertaxtools.com for a free guide that will give you the tools to never worry about your taxes again. Call Trucker Tax Tools 877-966-2477 or go to truckertaxtools.com now and let the experts keep you trucking. Let's get back to Tax Talk for You with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, I enjoy that. Nice commercial there from Trucker Tax Tools. Speaking of Trucker Tax Tools, talking to some of our consultants here over the weekend at Trucker Tax Tools. They've got some great deals going for trucker bookkeeping and taxes. We were looking at an ad that was run out there by somebody else saying, hey, we have like 700 plus clients and we've got the lowest prices in the world. We can get your bookkeeping caught up in 24 hours for a whole year's worth of bookkeeping. And it's kind of amazing because we've been approached by a number of companies to bring our bookkeeping and tax work, and they can do it relatively inexpensive or cheaply, for us. But it's not done here in the United States. It's done overseas. And one of those other countries that low cost, low price individuals doing this work for them. And that doesn't sit well with me. We need to keep your stuff here in the United States. Know that it's protected. Know that you have quality people in America doing the work for you. So, hey, call Trucker Tax Tools. Go to truckertaxtools.com. Check out the great rates and specials that got going on right now, especially moving into the new year to get you started. So go to truckertaxtools.com. Get a free consultation. Let's find out what rates we can get for you and how we can help serve you in the trucking industry. Speaking of now, tax deadlines coming up. April 1st, April Fool's Day. No, we're not going to fool you what tax is coming up. But if you turn 73 in 2024, you are now required to take minimum distributions. And you have till April 1st, 2025 to take your 24 required minimum distribution. Now, that's your first distribution when you turn 73 in 2024. If you were already 73 before that, you've got to make those required minimum distributions before year end. But if you turn 73 in 24, you have till April 1st, 2025. No April Fools. April 1st, 2025, you got to make that first required minimum distribution. So keep those in mind. April 15th. Here's the big day. This is when your 1040 is due, unless, of course, you file an extension. So if you file the 4868, it's got to be filed by April 15th as well. You cannot request an extension after the deadline. It just isn't going to work. That extension won't be granted, so you got to do it before the April 15th deadline. April 15th also brings you the deadline to make IRA or health saving account contributions for 2024. So if you're an individual income tax filers, make sure you make your contributions to those two accounts. Health savings accounts have their own rules. So whether you have a family medical plan or an individual medical plan will set your limits there. Check your plan out because not every plan is HSA qualified for you to be able to make those HSA contributions. Now, if you can, talk to your tax preparer because it may save you some money on your taxes. Don't just go out and do it to do it, but hey, if it can save you money on taxes, it's a great way to save. And if you qualify based on your medical plan, then it's a great way to put money. That money can grow. And as long as you only use it for medical, you don't get taxed on it. Now, if you were to pull it out for other purposes or other uses, you're going to get taxed on that money and have penalties on that money. But if you don't need it, it can sit out there. And a lot of HSA banks that do these things will allow you to invest into money market accounts, mutual funds, where this money can grow based on the stock market or money market based on the interest rates and stuff out there. So it's a good savings way to save. And if you don't need it and you contribute it to it every year, it's a great way to have money available to you when you do need it to meet those ever increasing high deductibles on these incredibly stupid medical plans that are out there. April 15th also brings you your first quarterly estimate for 2025. So this estimated tax payment means that you need to make an estimate of what your income tax is likely to be in 2025. Now, you can use the IRS form 1040 ES to calculate how much your liability could be for that year. IRS publication 505 is also going to contain all the rules and details you're going to need to know how to calculate this amount. If you overestimate, the government's going to give you a refund. I don't recommend you overestimate. It's like giving the government money, and they're not going to pay you the interest on the money that you deserve. You should be keeping that as much money as possible and earning the interest yourself for you, not for the government. But they will give you the refund if you overestimate. Now, one of the best ways to do this is if you do finish your 2024 return by April 15th, you can go in and figure out your estimates based on your 2024 liability, or you can look at your 2025, and the estimates don't have to be even depending on how you earn your income. But if you go by actual, so maybe you earn most of your income towards the end of the year, you can weight those estimated tax payments based on your earnings. Now, you're going to have to file additional forms with your tax return to make sure that you don't get hit with interest and penalties for not, making those payments over the year. Or, hey, some ways to avoid this, if maybe you're running an S Corp and you've got to be on payroll anyway, instead of making estimated tax payments, you increase your federal withholdings on your payroll, or you wait till December and make a large bonus payment to yourself and pay it all in for federal taxes, and it covers you for the whole year. And the government considers W-2 payroll as if you paid it all year long, not having to worry about when you made estimated tax payments on the quarterly date. So little fun tidbits and techniques. So if you work with your tax preparer, your bookkeeping, and your payroll department, you can find the best way of maximizing the money that's coming through to you all year long and paying it in, later on during the year when that money is available to you, or when you've got to make sure you have enough paid in for your taxes. Your second estimated tax payment is June 16th. It doesn't work quarterly. It says quarterly estimated tax payments, but hey, that's only 2 months after the first payment. So you go April 15th and then you go June 16th for your second quarter's estimated tax payment. So they got weird dates in here. You've got to pay attention to them. It's going to be on the form. So if you're getting your taxes prepared from Trucker Tax Tools, we would give you your estimated tax payments that are due, and we'll give you the estimated vouchers, and it'll have the dates on there that you've got to make your estimated tax payment. So, take a look at those, set a calendar. A lot of our clients, what we want to do is make sure that you're paying it in as you go, because sometimes it's harder to pay on a quarterly basis or on what IRS wants as quarters. So sometimes you pay it in month by month as you go and as you're earning income, and it's not a bad way to do it. The third estimated tax payment is actually September 15th, 2025. Again, you want to make sure that your estimates are right. it's a third one is basically a good time to start looking at your tax planning for 2025 and get out there. We had a question come in, and hey, Charles, the question is, would this apply only to truckers or for all businesses? So when you're self-employed, this is going to apply to you making estimated tax payments. These tax deadlines apply to everybody. Now, even if you're not a small business or a business person or a self-employed and you have other income that you have coming in, let's say from investments, so let's say from royalties, and it's a good amount of money and you have to pay tax on that every year over and above what's withheld. Well, you can either change your withholdings on your W-2 to cover, those other earnings, or you can make estimated tax payments. So it's all taxpayers that these deadlines will meet as well. We'll discuss some specifics for truckers here coming up shortly. After the break, we'll continue going through some deadlines. We'll be right back after this.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for You. As an owner-operator, you already spend too much time away from your family. Stop spending time doing paperwork. Go to truckertaxtools.com, a solution built specifically for truckers. Truckertaxtools.com makes your life run smoothly. Let's get back to Tax Talk for You with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome back. We're going to get into business tax deadlines here shortly as well, but continuing in through individual deadlines for 2025. Now you'll be able to find a lot of this on our website, both at taxationsolutions.net and truckertaxtools.com. So we'll have a lot of the deadlines for 2025 out there. But October 15th is your final deadline to file your extended 2024 return. Remember, if you file that extension back April 15th, you got that 6-month extension. October 15th is now the deadline. And again, it's not the deadline to pay. The deadline to pay was April 15th. This is just a deadline to file. So if you haven't paid by then, by April 15th, you're going to have interest and penalties and stuff that are going to accumulate on that debt as well. So make sure October 15th, you get your tax returns filed. December 31st, 2025, required minimum distributions for everybody. If you're age 73 or older, you'll have to make that required minimum distribution by December 31st, 2025. Hey, something really cool about required minimum distributions. If you make charitable contributions, do it out of your required minimum distributions. Do a qualified charitable distribution. Hey, that goes to the charity. It comes out of the money. It counts as your required minimum distribution, but there's no tax on it. And especially nowadays, unless you're itemizing, charitable contributions is great to do because it comes from your heart, but it doesn't save you any money on taxes if you're not itemizing. And the standard deduction is pretty high, so a lot of times you're not itemizing. So using a qualified charitable distribution, QCD, you can take money out of your required minimum distribution, give it directly to the charity, and there's no tax on it. So, hey, that does save you some money. And now, estimated tax payments, the fourth one for 2025 would be due January 15th, 2026. Again, you should be doing a lot of tax planning if you're having to make estimated tax payments, whether you're self-employed, whether you're owner-operator, whether you're a truck driver. You should be doing tax planning. If you're only on W-2 income and there's nothing else, maybe you can do an IRA, maybe you can do HSA. Talk to your tax preparer and let's find out the best way to save you money on your taxes. There's a lot of things and a lot of deadlines come up every single year. And those deadlines, those dates are pretty much hard and fast, unless it falls on a weekend or a holiday. And then it moves to the following Monday or Tuesday. We've had some tax deadlines that should have fallen on Monday, but then there was a holiday in DC and it fell another day later. So those are the fun things and the hard things that we've got to go through and do and look at. Now, businesses. So businesses have their own set of deadlines. Businesses, including partnerships, that includes LLCs, taxes, partnership, C Corps that file 1120, S Corps that file 1120Ss. If you are a 1120 corporation, you would have your fourth quarter estimated tax payment due January 15th, 2025, and you would have estimated tax payments as a C Corp all throughout the year. We don't deal with very many C Corps anymore. Most of our small businesses will either be a multi-member partnership, LLC, or S Corp. And there's some advantages to both, and that'd be a whole long conversation we can have another day. 2024 tax season will begin sometime early in 2025. They have not set a date for that yet. You're an employer, you have a deadline of January 31st to get your employees' W-2s out to them. Also, get your 1099s out. March 15th is your tax deadline. So if you're organized as a partnership, including multi-member LLCs, S Corps, you need to file your 1065 or 1120S by March 15th, 2025. If you're a calendar year business. If you're not a calendar year business, a whole other calculation out there. So if you are fiscal year, the calculation will go, you have to file by the 15th of the third month following the close of your tax year. So if you have a different tax year, let's say you close at the end of November, your tax return would be due February 15th. But majority of the businesses out there are going to be calendar year businesses and have that March 15th, 2025 deadline. You can then file also for an extension, which would give you 6 months extension. And that would take you out to September 15th, 2025 for your partnership and your S Corp. A C Corporation, 1120, you have the deadline of April 15th. And if you file an extension, then you can file by October 15th. Now, remember, if you are S Corp or you are a member, shareholder in an S Corp or a member of a partnership or our partner in the partnership or member of the LLC, make sure those S Corps and partnerships get those returns filed timely, because you can't file your return without the K-1. That's going to come from the partnership that you are a part of or the S Corp that you may be a shareholder in. And then estimated tax payments, you'd have the fourth quarter due January 15th, 2026 to pay in as a C Corp. If you are a member of an S Corp or a member of a partnership or multi-member LLC taxed as a partnership, you'll have your own estimated tax payments on your personal side, not going to be on the business side. So those are the kind of fun things. Now, if you are a trucker, you have one more special return to file, and it's the 2290. It's the heavy highway vehicle use tax. Those taxes are for those motor vehicles that are taxable gross weight of 55,000 pounds or more. Now, if it's in your name at the time of first use, you've got to file this form. A lot of if you're leased on to somebody, a lot of times they take care of these filings for you. If you got your own authority and running your own trucks, you're going to be filing these 2290s yourself. The filing season is July 1 through the following June 30th. So if you put your vehicle for first use on a public highway in July, file your form between July 1st and August 31st. If it's after that, you're going to file your 2290 by the last day of the month following in which you first put the vehicle into use on a public highway. But make sure you got your employer identification number. Make sure you have it registered underneath your company. There's a lot of variables that go into it. There's a lot of services out there that'll do it. You can go online and file this, or you can pull the form off irs.gov. Hey, real quick, somebody asked a question, what if I miss a tax deadline? Well, if you miss one of the key deadlines, you have options depending on which deadline you missed and whether you owe money or you're going to be due a refund. So, if you miss the extension deadline on your 1040 and you're going to be owed a refund, just get it filed as soon as you can. There's no penalties, no interest, because the IRS is refunding your money. Now, if you're really a procrastinator out there and you don't get it filed for more than 3 years after that deadline and you have a refund coming back, guess what? Government's keeping your refund. So get it filed as soon as possible. If you didn't file the extension, we'll use that on your 1040 and you didn't pay all the tax in and you owed money. The IRS is going to hit you with penalties for late filing. The IRS is going to hit you penalties for non-payment. And then the IRS is going to hit you interest from the date that it should have been paid. And if you should have made estimated tax payments and you did not, guess what? More interest, more penalties. Isn't that the fun thing about our government? It's supposed to be a voluntary system to file, except when you don't. Penalties, interest, tacking it on, continue to tack it on. If you miss the estimated tax payment and you're required to make it, the IRS is going to tack on interest and penalties. What if you owe more than what you can afford? Hey, simple idea. Solve your problem in 3 simple steps. Go to irsplaybook.info. Great information for you. It's a free guide. Go there, jump in, see what it's all about. Again, it's irsplaybook.info. So the moral of the story here, there's deadlines, and there's deadlines. Keep track of your deadlines. Make sure you meet those deadlines. Make sure you make your estimated tax payments. Make sure you file on time. If you need help, get a good tax preparer. There's places you can look and go to find somebody that is really good, or you can go right to truckertaxtools.com and use us. Tax debt, go to taxationsolutions.net and let us help solve your tax problem. Free consultation, free phone call. But find a good enrolled agent, find a good CPA, find somebody that has a lot of experience filing taxes for the industry you may be working in if you are a business person, so that somebody can give you some good advice and follow what guidelines and deadlines that you have. Hey, we're coming up on the new year. Have a happy new year and a God-blessed new year. Deadlines are deadlines. Taxes are taxes. We all pay them. We've all got to do it. But set yourself a new year resolution. Find the good tax preparer. Find somebody that can guide you to help save as much money as possible. Owner operator, thank you for all you do transporting goods across this country. You guys barely take breaks, barely get time at home. Hey, don't go it alone. Call truckertaxtools.com. Hey, thank you very much. Have a wonderful new year. We will see you next year. Have a God-blessed end of 2024 and an even more blessed 2025. Thank you all. And check us out at taxtalk4u.com.
Are you an individual or business that wants to understand taxes and how they affect you? Are you looking for specific tax advice for self-employed, business owners, and truckers? Are you behind on taxes and your bookkeeping? Are you dealing with the IRS and ready to have some relief? Then you need Tax Talk for You, hosted by tax and trucker expert Barry G. Fowler, EA. Tune in 10 a.m. Eastern Time every Monday right here on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Don't forget to check this and past episodes at taxtalk4u.com. See you next week at W4CY.com.